How would you like to go from survival to nervous system healing? Andreja Borin will tell us how to do it. And what's so special about Andreja is she's an author, coach, and holistic well-being practitioner, empowering individuals through embodied awareness, self-compassion, and nervous system-informed approaches. So, Andreja, tell us about nervous system healing and how can someone go from survival to that? Heal Podcast with Lily Patrascu shares longevity and anti-aging techniques to stay young forever, increase energy, overcome addiction, and live your longest, best life ever. Shared by world's most innovative, alternative, and traditional health thought leaders, healers, and doctors. Discover quantum healing strategies to heal your mind, body, and soul.
Great, thank you. Such a great question. And thank you so much for having me here today and being able to talk about nervous system regulation. So I came to this concept when I was studying and working on eating disorders, for instance, which I have been struggling with myself. And I wanted to go deeper into that. So I took training under Deb Dana, and this really opened up the whole world into our biology. And I came to understand we can have all the techniques available out there, but we have to go back to our bodies and understand when we operate from survival mode, when we operate from thriving mode. And it is our biology. So in a nutshell, to answer your question, nervous system is all about our biology and understanding the cues from the bodies, where they come from, why are they coming or showing up the way they are, which goes back into the trauma, into a deeper substance of person's experience.
Thank you. Tell us, how do we know that someone is in survival mode versus in thriving mode?
So for instance, if we think about the body, so when the client would come to me into a session and they want to talk about, let's say, dreams or any kind of topic, I always read into their bodies. You can tell when they're anxious, if the shoulders are shrugged, if the jaw is being clenched, the words they choose. So it's not only physical appearance, it's also the vocabulary we choose, the speed of tone, the voice, the pitch of the tone. Everything plays into it. So reading into those bodily cues with awareness. And for that, we need to step back and take a moment to actually connect, because many of us are in an autopilot. There's so many things to do. There's so many things we want to achieve, and thinking about the future, thinking about 2 steps ahead. And by doing that, the stress goes up. The nervous system is on alert, ready to fight, ready to go to achieve those goals. Okay. So just stepping back, taking a breath, and reading into those cues in a nutshell.
Thank you. Tell us, how can entrepreneurs go from survival to nervous system healing? Tell us your blueprint for achieving that.
Oh, blueprint. Let me think for a moment. So everything that I have done so far, every training that I've taken, I have everything applied onto myself first. So I took myself through that process. So I have been in wellness industry for over 16 years, actually. And also studied psychology, which I'm working right now on my doctorate degree in neuropsychology. So all the things that I have learned, I have applied on myself. And sometimes they work, sometimes they didn't work, but I kept going. Yeah. And then I used those techniques and started working with clients. And every person is different. So, and we always have to look at a person as an individual, unique entity, with their own constellations, with their own past experiences and whatnot. So we always have to be open to explore and to regulate and co-regulate with other person. So for instance, whatever I have learned, I can't just oppose onto the other and say, you should be doing A, B, C, and D. I have to tune into them, meet them where they are. And so to answer your questions for the entrepreneurs, how to come from survival into thriving mode is, for instance, you can't do everything alone. This is something that I've done when I've tried. When I started my business, I thought I can do everything by myself. I was on 7 days a week, 24 hours a day. I loved it. It was great to begin with. There was so much energy, enthusiasm, but it is not sustainable. We come to a place where the body starts shutting down slowly and it will crash. So I learned how to delegate tasks. I learned how to look after myself, because when you're running your business, it's all about giving into that business, giving your energy, giving your time, giving your money, giving to your family, giving to everybody around. And it's exciting, but we have to look after ourselves, because if we don't, what else can we give? Right? So I think this would be one of the most important things that I would tell people to understand, that the self-care is not selfish. It is the act of self-respect in setting those clear boundaries, so we can actually thrive and enjoy and love in what we are doing.
Thank you. Would you say that actually to go from survival to nervous system healing, the very first step is really to like calm down, because you have all the answers yourself, and it's all about like bringing yourself to that calm that perhaps you've never had. And because when you are calm, when you are relaxed, when you're feeling kind of like yourself, you're connecting to yourself, and you pretty much like know all the answers. And if that's the case, what are the kind of routines or steps or hacks that someone should take to actually get there?
So to address your first statement, survival, you will have to connect to a person to understand where the survival is coming from. So if somebody is going through depression, it's very difficult to tell them to do. Well, it's easy to tell them what to do, but for them to actually go and do it, it's maybe unrealistic. So let's talk about individual first and see where the survival is coming from. And it's a process as well, from surviving to thriving. It's not a tick box exercise. It is not something, you put into a calendar to do. It's the healing process. And there's no timestamp on that process. We have to acknowledge. So let's say burnout, for instance. When we go into a burnout, when we actually crash, there's first acknowledgement. Okay, you know what? I don't feel good. I can't live my life like this. What do I need to change? How do I change it? So there's that acknowledgement first. And from that deeper acknowledgement or willingness, resilience to actually move forward, what do I do next? What is my support system? What do I do? How do I move forward? Okay. And from there, yes, we can start with techniques. Let's talk about breathing exercises, because the breath is the first thing that we can always do to bring ourselves into a calm. We always breathe 24 hours, right? But it's always unconscious. It's autonomic mechanism. Having awareness of our breath and seeing when we are on alert, when we are stressed, when we are calm, and how to regulate those two. This is the first thing that I would say, to tap into those exercises with breath, because this is how we learn to read the cues of our body as well.
Thank you. Are there any other activities someone can do to kind of bring themselves to a state of calm so that they can regulate their nervous system?
Absolutely. I talk about these themes in my book quite a bit. So breathing, as we discussed, is one of them. Movement, physical movement, awareness of the body in the space, whether if it's going to the gym, but being aware of the physical movement and having awareness of the process, if you will. Going out for a walk, even like half an hour walk, for instance, just to have that mind space of possibilities. Yeah. Something that I call nutritious, not nutritious, what I call in the book holistic kitchen, is being aware of nutrition and meals and building relationship with the food, what we eat and how we eat and so forth. And I emphasize quite a bit on circadian rhythm, which is biological rhythm that our body goes through the day and the night. It is in alignment with the cycles, it is in alignment with the hormones and so forth. So instead of talking about balance, I'm talking about the rhythm. So this is something that I would really encourage people to look a little bit deeper into and connect with their own biology.
Thank you. Tell us about the kind of states that survival manifests as. You already mentioned depression, and I have experienced depression before. And what I do remember is, for example, that when I was depressed, I wasn't just depressed. I was disappointed. I was angered. I was resentful. I was sad. Maybe there's so many other emotions that perhaps I can't even remember right now. But all I do remember is that I didn't want to do anything. Tell us more about the kind of states that survival can manifest as, and how do you actually come out of that when you don't feel like doing anything?
Great question. So when we think about nervous system regulation, think about a ladder. Okay, so there's a hierarchy. On the top of the ladder, there's ventral vagal, where we are connected, we are open to possibilities, we are connected to ourselves and the others, and happy, creative. We are thriving. Moving down the ladder, there is sympathetic nervous system, which is fight or flight. So our system is designed there, is programmed there to protect us from perceived danger. And this is quite primal brain as well, because our nervous system scans for cues of danger and safety, whether if it's cold temperature outside, if it's too hot, if we need to drink water, if all of that, people, events, and what's not. So fight or flight is there, anxiety lives there, panic attacks live there as well. Moving one below is dorsal, which is shut down and disconnect. So this is where depression lives. When we feel hopeless, when we feel there is no choice, it's quite dark there. So we are disconnected from ourselves and from the others. Now, as I said, it is the ladder. So we move healthy, I would say individuals, we move through that ladder on a daily basis. When we are overwhelmed, we shut down, maybe scroll on social media for a little bit, right? Disconnected, right? But when people have depression and anxiety, we would shift from those states. So living too long on those levels is just not sustainable, and it will show up in our behavior, in our relationships, in our choices in life, in many different areas. It will simply show up. So the question is how to recognize that, because it does come from self-awareness. People around me would tell me, "Oh, I feel you're depressed. Can I help you?" And so I did have support. I had conversations, but the choice had to come from me. That awareness, acknowledgement had to come from a place of, you know what, this feels like shit. I can't live like this anymore. I want to change. And be prepared for that process, because it's not linear. There will be ups and downs. Sometimes there'll be a few days of joy and happiness, and then we go back into depression for a few days and so forth. But it is very important to start the process, to know that, whoever there is listening to this, if you're struggling with depression or anxiety, just know you're not alone in that. Okay, there are people who want to help you, who are there, who have been through it all, and they came out the other way. So don't give up on yourself and lean into that support system. Yeah.
Thank you. For me, I remember when I was depressed, one of the things that actually helped me quite a lot was almost like delivering a shock to my system. And what I mean by that is at one point, I just fancied doing something fun. And I just kind of remembered what I used to like to do. And I started booking myself into theater shows, musicals to watch. And I found that the more electrifying the performance was, it's like my own vibration raised. And I instantly felt like, oh my God, I'm up for going traveling, and I'm up for coming out of my shell, and I'm up for doing so many different things that I didn't fancy doing. So it's almost like breaking the pattern of what used to be for a really long time. Are there any particular activities you recommend for entrepreneurs to do who are open to kind of doing something to kind of shock their system into some sort of action, just to come out of that, doing nothing kind of situation when they're feeling depressed or when they're feeling in survival?
Absolutely. There are so many amazing holistic approaches out there and techniques. Personally, I love sound bath, where practitioner would use sound and frequency of the sound, and you can feel it go through your body. It is so calming, relaxing, but you feel so energized after that. It's beautiful. Anything to do with body movement, exercise, sports, scuba diving, skiing, anything that will actually bring that level of excitement or frequency, like you were saying, absolutely beautiful. Music, any form and shape. What else? I'm trying to think what else. I mean, there's so many other things out there. It's just explore it all. See what you are drawn to, what you feel connected with, and go with it.
Thank you. For me, one really funny thing that I did that I think kind of always seems to be, like kickstart me out of a bad situation is actually epilating my hair. Okay, it's very weird, but like, because when you get epilated, it hurts quite a lot, but it kind of like, I think it creates like this blood flow, or at least you feel like your blood is flowing kind of faster or something, and it gives you almost like an electric shock, and not electric shock, it's like the perception that it is like a shock to your system, and it's like all of a sudden you feel like, oh, I could actually I feel like going for a walk, or I feel like doing something. And what I find is that it shocks you just a tiny bit, in the sense of like giving you this and almost like incentive of feeling like, oh, I could do this tiny little step towards my recovery, right? So you feel maybe a little bit like doing something fun, or and then that's how you kind of gradually come out of like a bad situation. Are there any other tips that you have, for example, for people that have been in freeze mode for a really long time? That like, how do you even like get in touch with those people? Because a lot of times those people don't even want to be talked to, because they're like they don't feel like doing literally anything.
Absolutely. I just want to go back and say something. You just said something so beautiful. This physical sensation connects to those spaces we talk about of nervous system, sympathetic and dorsal, shutdown and fight or flight. Because when we are disconnected from our bodies. And having this physical sensation reawakens that sense of physical awareness, right? So what I tend to do, I like skydiving. So when I'm on that edge, if you will, of going into burnout, I like to go and skydive. Just to open my mind, to awaken my body, and I come out of it, okay, I'm ready, let's go, right? And going back to your question, for people who are in that free zone, techniques such as reconnecting with yourself, whether if it's through self-care, like massage, okay, having somebody else's hand, somebody else's touch on your skin, it's very rewarding, and it connects us as well. Going to a spa, whether if it's sauna or steam room, anything like that, where we can feel our body's response to that stimuli. So those acts of self-care, I would definitely recommend and encourage people to try and do them.
Thank you. Is there anything that can enable entrepreneurs to, let's say, once they've had a little crack into that, I'm not sure how to even say it. Once they've kind of like broken out of that freeze mode, and they've taken, you can say, like a little step towards getting better by doing something fun, how do they maintain that kind of, because I feel that a lot of the freeze mode is actually like a protection mechanism for your body to protect itself from the universe. It's trying to kind of keep itself safe by just kind of like shutting down and keeping everyone away from yourself, basically, right? So how do you get the courage to take bigger and bigger steps? So for example, for me, the fact that some clients disappointed me and treated me badly made me feel like I'm not safe to talk to new clients, for a long time. And, taking that step again just felt like so daunting to like feel like, oh my God, I could be hurt again. I could be disappointed again. Like people could take advantage of me again. People could, treat me badly again. How do I cope with that? And for a long time, I didn't know how to come out of that. What would you say to someone who is kind of going through something similar, where they don't feel courageous enough to kind of like take the next big step, which is to really overcome the very thing that brought them into this freeze state?
So we are talking about vulnerability, okay? So being in that space, you acknowledge, okay, this is where I have been, this is what I have gone through. And of course, I'm vulnerable now, I'm exposed. And I'm relearning to trust myself. I'm relearning to trust people, to trust the world. And of course, many different external influences will come and try to shake that foundation. But this is the place of learning how to establish our own boundaries, learning how to say no, learning how to love ourselves in that space, learning how perfection, it's not about perfection, right? It's about feeling truthful, feeling honest, and feeling raw in our truth. And yes, it's very, very vulnerable place. So I would encourage people to reach out for support, to have somebody they can reflect with, they can talk to, a person they can lean into to guide them through the process. Because of course there will be some self-criticism, there will be self-doubt. All these things will start coming up from the old patterns, right? But now we are relearning, we are growing. And to have a person to lean into, to help us through that process, as that person, as a life coach, I'm honored when somebody comes to me and I can hold that space for them. For me, it's an honor.
Thank you. And is there anything that entrepreneurs can do who are wanting to become courageous by themselves so they can have the courage to take the next step towards growing and coming out of a freeze state?
Of course, there is a quote that I just read a few days ago, and I thought it is so brilliant for the podcast today, so I'm going to read it to you. Let me fall if I must. The one I'm becoming will catch me. So for people moving forward through their struggles and through their challenges, okay, there is always a fear of failure, or fear of maybe not being enough. But you know what? Even with that fear, you're still being fearless. You're still going. You're still moving, and you're still doing it. And if the fear is still there, don't be afraid, because the person you are becoming now in this process, this is the person that will hold you. Whatever happens moving forward, you're already there.
Thank you. Tell us where entrepreneurs can connect with you.
Oh, thank you. So through my website, which is www.mindlabcoaching.com, through my Instagram as well, mindlab. And who would ever like to have a book, feel free to check it on Amazon. It is called Work Well, Live Well.
Thank you.
Follow me for more interviews with world's most innovative health changemakers to live your healthiest life ever.